The shir is dedicated Lilu Nishmas Rachelea Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. We were just left off with discussing the topic of making ice on Shabbos. I just wanted to spend about 5 or 10 minutes just wrapping up that topic, and then Mitzvah Hashem in this year we will embark on something I've been stalling for a long time. A little nervous, but we're going to embark on the Malacha of Bishul, which is going to be a major topic. It's going to take us a number of shiurim to get into, but let's just first wrap up the question of making ice on Shabbos. Just to quickly recap, the Gemara told us in the Masechah Shabbos and Daf Nun Aleph Mebeis that you're not allowed to melt ice on Shabbos. You can't take biyadayim and melt ice on Shabbos. We saw 3 different views on what exactly is the problem with melting ice on Shabbos. Rashi said it's a problem of Malacha D'Rabbanan, that of Molid. The Rambam told us it's a Gzeira, Shema Yavu Lidei Schita. Just like Schita, you take the fruit and you squeeze the juice, the liquid out of the fruit. So too when you take ice and you squeeze it to get out the water, that's very similar. So therefore it's part of the Din D'Rabbanan of Schitas Peiros, and that's exactly why we're discussing it now. And then you have the Sefer HaTshuma. The Sefer HaTshuma seems to write that the Isser of melting ice on Shabbos, Beyadayim, is a function of an Isser of Nolad, a Muksa idea, that in anything to be used on Shabbos needs to be min hamuchan, and if it only came into existence on Shabbos itself, it couldn't have been min hamuchan mi ba'erev, from before Shabbos, and therefore this is going to be a prohibition of muksa of nolad. The Sefer HaTshuma said that this is not limited to the case of the melting of ice, but even applies to a situation of if you have this chicken fat, and you have chicken with chicken fat, you want to warm it up, keneged ha'esh. So the Sefer HaTshuma says if it's going to create a lot of liquefaction of that solid chicken fat, it's going to convert into liquid, that is going to be a problem, mishum nolad, and must be avoided on Shabbos. This is the position of the Sefer HaTshuma. We pointed out that there are actually 3 different ways to look at the Sefer HaTshuma, 3 different positions in his understanding. Position number 1 is that of the Rosh, and the Rosh tells us the reason for the Sefer HaTshuma is really not such a big chiddush. It's really not midin nolad, but he's learning like Rashi. Rashi says it's a prohibition of molid, of a malacha d'Rabbanan, of creating water. That's all the Sefer HaTshuma means. He didn't mean nolad in the muksa sense. All he meant was you can't create a liquid from a solid. So that can be done one of 2 ways. You can either take ice and melt it, biyadayim, that's called molid of the water. Or if you take food and put it near eish, and you had this solid chicken fat, now that's liquefying, that's also called the creation of a liquid molid, and therefore would be prohibited according to the Sefer HaTshuma, nothing to do with the prohibition of nolad. That's a little bit helpful to us, because if you learn like that, so first of all, you're not going to have any problem if you take ice and put it into an empty dish, and it just melts by itself. There's not going to be a nolad problem in the liquid. The liquid's not going to be muksa because he doesn't have nolad. Nolad means creating something brand new. But when it comes to allowing ice to melt, that water is really inside the ice. It's not a brand new creation. You can't really call that nolad, and therefore that's not going to be a problem. That was the Rosh's understanding of the Sefer HaTshuma. The second view of the Sefer HaTshuma was the Mogen Avram. And the Mogen Avram said, it's not real nolad. You can't say it's classic nolad. Rather, it's a chumrah that if you went ahead and were molid beyadayim, you created a liquid from a solid by hand, you crushed ice, or you liquefied the chicken schmaltz, so then Chazal slapped upon you another Isser, an Isser of Nola, that we treat that liquid as being muksa. But if it happened by itself, it just melted in the sun, so then if you didn't do anything biyadayim, then there's no Isser of Nolad whatsoever. That's the Mogen Avram, and then we came to the classic understanding, that of Rov Rishonim, and that is indeed that there's a din of Nolad. There's a prohibition of Nolad when you when solid turns into liquid, you violate a prohibition of Nolad. This is the view of Rov Rishon, the Ran, the Ramban, all in the Sefer HaTshuma. And we pointed out that it seems that the Ramah says, Lechatchila, we should follow the Sefer HaTshuma. The Ramah writes that one does not, in Siman Shin Yud Ches, one does not put Shuman, Shenikrash, this fat that has coagulated, Keneged Ha'esh, because it will liquefy. And yesh machmir in the have nola. There are those who are machmir that there's a nola problem. Of course, b'makom hatsorech, if there's a case of special need, then it will be permissible. But otherwise, everything being equal, one should not do so. This is the position of the Ramah, and we would extrapolate that L'chora, even though he's silent when it comes to the case of ice, we would extrapolate to ice as well. And the Ramah himself says in Siman Shin Chavav, halacha yud, that one is not allowed to use hard soap on Shabbos because when you lather it up, it creates a liquid, and therefore that's going to be a problem of nolad once again, going from solid over to liquid, and it's the same exact position of the Yesh Machmirim of the Sefer HaTruma. Okay, but that gets us to our main problem. The problem is, what's the halacha when it comes to not melting of ice, but creating of ice? So many poskim take the position that just like it is prohibited to convert or use solid, make solid into liquid, and the liquid becomes nolad, well, if that's usher, then the same thing should be applied in the reverse. To take a liquid and convert it into a solid, the solid has a status of nolad. And if that indeed is the case, then indeed we could argue there's a